What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Today, I wanted to showcase some Swalot gameplay in the Open Great League. This, in my opinion, is one of the most fun Poison-type Pokemon to play right now. It's very bulky, it has access to Mud Shot for the other poisons, and Ice Beam is one of the best coverage moves you could really ask for. Let's get into the battles and see what it can do. First game of the day, we're going to see our Swalot as our lead Pokemon up against a Shadow Dragonite. We do have Mudshot as our fast move, which doesn't do a lot here, but if I can land an Ice Beam, or maybe even just a Sludge, it would do quite a bit of damage to this Pokemon. Dragon Breath is adding up quite a bit over time here, but we have to keep in mind Swalot is pretty bulky. I can survive a Dragon Claw if I no-shield it. Go for a Sludge in just a second, or if they swap out, maybe go for a Sludge once again against this, because while I do have a Shadow Primeape in the backline, which is a fighting type into an Ice type, these Psywaves from Lapras would add up quite a bit, so I do want a little bit of help going into this matchup. In comes our Shadow Primeape. We do have some energy on our Swalot ready to go, and we also have a Rage Fist just about loaded on our Shadow Primeape. In comes this first Sparkling Aria. We were able to shield it and survive the move thanks to that shield, go for the Rage Fist of our own, and try to either get a shield or a massive amount of damage into the Lapras. They do opt to shield the move up here, which means now I'm going to double shield my Shadow Primeape, go for a full farm down, and try to use this energy if they bring back in that Shadow Dragonite. Sparkling number 2 does draw our shield. In comes that Shadow Dragonite as we did expect. In comes the Rage Fist. And at this point, I'm going to hope they no shield, because if they shield this up, it's going to be a little bit tricky still to take out. We have energy left over on Swalot, not quite enough for an Ice Beam. I want to throw the move, though, before they can CMP me on a Dragon Claw, so we throw this move on a combo play, and at this point, we do get fully farmed down by the Dragon Breaths. This is not looking ideal for us right now. Our Primeape is so low. Talonflame is going to take a full-on Dragon Claw as well as a couple Dragon Breaths, which means we're going to be pretty low for whatever the final Pokemon is going to be. Dragon Claw does over half of our HP there, and comes their Lapras actually again. Okay, interesting. Maybe they are pretty weak to our Talonflame in the backline. We get 2 more Incinerates for our Troubles. In comes their final Pokemon. It is a Gastrodon, potentially a misplay by the opposing trainer here, coming in Lapras before ending up coming into this Gastrodon here. I guess I did get a couple Sideways, which did chip down my HP, but because I'm able to now outpace to a Fly plus a Brave Bird, Gastro does not even have enough energy to reach a Body Slam. We're able to knock them out and somehow overcome one of the worst leads we could have seen. Next matchup is a Swalot lead into a Dewgong, another awkward lead, honestly. I do have my Shadow Primeape, though. That is generally a pretty safe swap, and we are met by the perfect matchup here at the Jumpluff. Normally, you'd expect to see a fighting type into a flying type and be like, this is not a great matchup. This, though, is what Ice Punch is for. Karate Chop is so spammy, our opponent did not expect the Ice Punch to come through there, meaning now I can start shielding up these moves, go straight Rage Fist, and try to Karate Chop this Pokemon all the way down. Aerial Ace does end up getting a shield from us here. I am already out of Rage Fist, so I can throw this move, ramp up our attack stat, and depending on what they want to do, our Shadow Primeape can start ramping up against the entire team. In comes another charge attack. I know an Aerial Ace will do a decent chunk of damage to us. It would, well, honestly, at this point, easily knock us out, so I will be forced into a shield, go for a full Karate Chop down, but even though I'm down a shield here, I have a boosted Primeape, and I almost have 2 more Rage Fists. In comes our next charge move here. Our opponent likely knocking the shield, knowing that at this point they've seen all of my charge moves. I do not have close combat, but their Primeape, or rather their Dewgong, is taking a lot of damage from my Shadow Primeape already. Rage Fist is going to do a massive amount of damage. In comes the Shadow Sableye, but I'm able to just barely reach a Rage Fist right before getting completely Shadow Clawed down, which in my opinion, I absolutely needed to reach this charge move. We know Sableye does have access to Power Gem, which makes this a very tricky core breaker to our Swalot as well as our Talon. If they still had a shield remaining, this game would likely be a loss. But because of reaching that charge move here at the last second, we are able to survive this foul play, get an Ice Beam off, and now either do a massive amount of damage or potentially even knock this Pokemon out, depending on how bulky they're going to be. Ice Beam ends up landing. Our opponent now is overfarming as much as they can, but because they are almost in Mudshot down range and because I almost reach a Sludge, they're able to throw the move at the last second, but I think we can incinerate this down before a foul play or even a Power Gem will be thrown. We're able to survive the Shadow Claws, and now we can incinerate down the Dewgong and somehow overcome yet again a bit of a tricky matchup there. GG to our opponent. Next matchup, we're going to see our Swalot in the lead up against an Alolan Sandslash. This is a very bad lead matchup to be in. I have 2 good answers for this in the back line, but let's see what our opponent has for us in store in the back. It's going to be a Malamar as a counter swap into our Shadow Primeape, which is not great for us to see. We know that these Rage Fists are going to add up quite a bit over time. You know, honestly, I probably should have baited a close combat there, but I guess at this point, I'm just going to ramp up my attack as quickly as possible. I can reach a second Rage Fist before I'm going to get Sidewave down, but we can see just how much damage these fast moves are doing. All they need to do is shield once, tap their phone screen, and they can farm me all the way down. This is not looking like a great matchup for us right now, but I know sometimes you see like a Golisopod in the back with an Alolan Sandslash, so maybe if I can get a nice energy lead here, there is a good chance that maybe I can still win this game. I'm going to use our Talonflame as a way to get a bit of energy and see if this energy lead is all it takes to win this game. They have the A-Slash in the backline, but their final Pokemon is revealed as an Azumarill. Unfortunately for us, it is going to be very tricky for us to take down. We have a Brave Bird ready to go. It does over half of the Azu's HP. Swalot going to try its best to come back in, but instant swap back into the Alolan Sandslash. And while we do have super effective Mud Shot into this Pokemon, we know Sludge, Ice Beam, they're all incredibly resisted. Not much that I can really do here. I know at this point Sludge is technically the more efficient move to throw, but you're going to see it's going to do nothing here. It's a Steel-type Pokemon. It's going to just bounce right off of it. Yeah, that's honestly the least amount of damage I've ever seen a Sludge do. In comes another charge attack. I have to shield up at this point. Keep at least a bit of HP on Swalot if I can, and maybe if I can put him into a Sludge range with the next couple of Mud Shots, maybe there's still a chance. Sludge going to be thrown. At this point, it is going to either knock out. Oh, no, it doesn't knock out. I was hoping it would either get a shield or knockout there, but because now they can survive that move, they are able to win this game. If I could have got the knockout there, then I would be able to potentially Draper the Azu or Sludge it to knock it out, but now because they still have that Ice Punch in the backline, it doesn't even matter. In comes the Sludge. This might not even be enough damage here to knock out the Azu. In comes the move. Azu is going to take it like a champ. Unfortunately for us, Swalot is going to get knocked out by the Fairy-type Pokemon. A bit of an RPS game here, but I did try to dance around. GG there to our opponent. Next matchup, we're going to see Swalot in the lead up against a Morpeko. So honestly, a bit of an awkward lead matchup here, mainly because we know Morpeko, it ramps up quite a bit if you do end up letting it start throwing these Aura Wheels. I know my super effective Mudshot damage, well, it is going to add up quite a bit over time. We'll not be able to fast move down in the 2-shield matchup, so the longer this goes, the better it is for Morpeko. Because of that, I'm not going to invest a shield here. Instead, I'm going to no-shield the first charge attack, the one that does the least amount of damage, go for a Sludge into them, and just let everything go here when they throw another charge move. Likely going to be a Psychic Fangs coming through at this point, but I know Swalot has done its job, done about half of this Morpeko's HP. I can potentially come in with our Primeape, shield once, farm all the way down, and use a massive energy lead against whatever they have in the back. In comes actually an Azu. They don't let us go for a Karate Chop down, which is probably a smart play. Giving a Primeape like 5-6 Karate Chops of energy is generally a very hard thing to come back from. But with that said, Morpeko being still around in the backline with energy as well as HP, that's going to be a tricky thing for me to deal with in this game. Rage Fist number 2 being thrown into Azu. It takes 3 charge moves from Primeape to knock them out here, and because I'm able to shield up this move, I'm able to easily survive, ramp up with Primeape, and potentially still be in a good spot. Ice Beam is going to end up landing. It is going to draw our first shield, and now Rage Fist number 3 going to be thrown into Azu. I would likely see a shield here if they are weak to our Primeape in the backline, and comes actually a no shield. Maybe they have another better answer to us in the back. We'll have to see what they end up coming in with. No, actually, it's going to be a Corviknight, a Pokemon that is by no means a threat to our Talonflame in the backline, and our Primeape is doing so much damage. They actually catch on a Morpeko as well, which is great. They had a lot of energy, a lot of HP as well. That would have been kind of tricky for Talon to take out. At this point, by making that catch, we win this game. In comes a Rage Fist. It will draw a shield from them, but now Talon can come in, go for the Incinerates. Our opponent realizes not much they can do there. GG to them. All right, next matchup is a Dunsparce lead. All right, well, that's a very bad core breaker for our team. I do have access to Sludge, as we know, which is a very good neutral charge move here, but because our fast moves are doing very little damage, I'm not quite sure how this matchup goes. Rollout did get nerfed in this season, so its fast move pressure is going to be pretty low against our Swalot, but because I know these drill runs are still a very efficient charge move, there's still a good chance they can two-shot us here with these moves. Drill run number 1 comes through, yeah, we're already below half HP, so the next one that they're almost already at will be able to knock us out. Sludge number 2 being thrown, it does put them into the yellow, I guess. You know, Swalot trying its best here to at least neutralize this Pokemon so our Talonflame doesn't have to deal with it, but they have a bit of energy. They're at 2 rollouts, they're 2 away from the next charge move. What I'm going to do is try to farm down with my Primeape, shield once, and get a ton of energy, but once again, our opponent not letting us get that farm down. They swap instantly into an Azumarill. We know this matchup. We just go straight Rage Fist here, and we start ramping up. With that said, they're just 1 rollout away from a Rock Slide on that Dunsparce, which makes this a little bit awkward. I'm going to try to keep at least 1 shield in play for our Talonflame later on. I know they're not in Incinerate downrange, at least not before they can reach that 1 charge move here, but our Primeape has so much energy. We're almost at 3 Rage Fist right now. We're already at +1 attack, so this Azu is going to be in a world of hurt. Rage Fist number 2 ends up landing. Rage Fist number 3 already is going to be reached. Can we end up landing this move, or will they shield it up? Rage Fist will end up drawing, or actually, no, they let that go. Oh, a Talonflame in the backline. That is exactly what you don't want to see here, saying our own Talon is going to be down on energy, and there is still some energy on that Dunsparce. So I think at this point, they have a guaranteed win con. It's just go straight Brave Bird here, and they win the game. But let's see if they actually call that win condition, or if they're going to go for a fly. I'm going to call the move here, rather. See if I can potentially survive. They do go for a fly, so we do survive the attack. They make a nice catch on Dunsparce, but keep in mind, they were just 1 rollout away from a Rock Slide, so while this is a good catch, I also did have to throw a move to knock them out. But now their Talonflame is going to be able to survive long enough here to win them this game. In comes the next fly. Because I'm not able to reach another fly after this, unfortunately, we are going to get completely incinerated down, and now our Primeape is way too low to be able to get to a charge move. In fact, I think they're actually at back-to-back charges here on this Talonflame, which means I don't think we even have a chance here to get DRE. Nope, we are going to get knocked out by the next fly. Shadow Primeape not going to be able to win this game. GG to our opponent. Very close game, given how awkward that lead was. In the next game here, we're going to see Lapras into our Swalot. We know this is a little bit of an awkward Pokemon for our team, but we do have a lot of neutral play. Mudshot isn't doing a ton of damage to them here, but Sludge is going to be thrown in just a second. Our opponent throwing on CMP after 20 Sidewaves. That's kind of psychotic, but I guess we're ending up on a CMP here. In comes a charge move, and I completely forgot Skull Bash was even an option. I probably should have thrown my move before that was even a possibility for them to throw. Now their defense is boosted. The Sludge does almost nothing to them, and our Primeape is going to come in to try to at least chip them down a little bit in this matchup. In comes another charge move. I know Sparkling Aria would basically knock us out at this range. I'm going to shield my Primeape up and see what they come in with. I see Mono Fire. I think it's a Shadow Typhlosion, but at this point, no, that's a Shadow Kanto Ninetales. A very interesting Pokemon in this meta. I know it has access to Psyshock as well as Weather Ball. Scorching Sands, I think, as well. It's honestly a very unique Pokemon here, but unfortunately for our opponent, our Rage Fists are going to add up quite a bit against them, and I guess they're going to throw energy. I think they could have farmed us down, though. I'm very happy they do throw energy here, though, because if they did have a ton of energy, our Talonflame would take a ton of damage from the Psyshocks, and that would not be great for us. In comes a charge move here in just a second. I know it probably is a Psyshock, but I'm going to try to call that maybe they're on Solar Beam, maybe they're on Scorching Sands. No, it is Psyshock. It does about half of our HP here, and their final Pokemon is going to be revealed as a Shadow Drapion. This point, it is going to be a bit of an awkward matchup to win, but I do see ways to do it. I know this Drapion is very squishy. I can land a Brave Bird here in just a second to potentially knock them out. Talonflame is going to be able to take this Pokemon out. We have a lot of energy left over on our Swalot, and potentially we can Mudshot down the rest of the HP on that Cantonian Ninetales. In comes the Brave Bird. It will knock out this Drapion. In comes our Swalot. We go for the Sludge instantly against the Lapras. This might not be quite enough here to knock them out, but it will be enough to put them into a farm down range where we can come out with a charge move against that Ninetales later on in this match. In comes the full Mudshot down. Ninetales might be able to farm us down here, but even if they do, our Talon's still in the backline. We're able to win that game. Next matchup is another Dewgong in the lead. Swalot not finding too many amazing lead matchups right now, but we are able to potentially play out this matchup. This time I am going to stay in the lead just to see what we can do here. Potentially I can go for the Sludges, make it so they are going to be pretty low on HP, and set up a nice farm down for either my Talonflame or potentially my Shadow Primeape. In comes the first charge move there. It does do about a third of their HP, likely going to be a Drill Run coming through in just a second, which will put me deep into the yellow. In comes the charge move, and yep, as we expected, it is going to be that move. And now I'm going to instantly swap into our Shadow Primeape to see what we can do here. I do have access to Rage Fist against this Primeape, or this Annihilate rather, and if they want to shield the first move, they can be my guess, but if they no-shield at this point, I think that is going to be all I'm really going to get out of my Primeape in this matchup. I'll just no-shield, let them knock me out, and try to farm them down with my Talonflame. I don't know, though, if 2 Incinerates are enough. I hope that they are. It's going to be so close. No, they do survive the move, meaning they do get a parting Rage Fist off here. I do have 3 Incinerates of energy for my troubles, but this is still a little bit tricky. Rage Fist does draw a shield. In comes the Dewgong once again. Fly is going to add up quite a bit here if they do let it go, but I know they also are maybe going to be able to get some icy winds off against us, which is never what you want to see as a Talonflame. We don't have a lot of HP left over on our Swalot, and we know at this point Dewgong is going to throw a debuffing move. I just have to hope that Talon has enough in the tank to win this game. Fly number 2, going to be thrown into this Dewgong. I'm just 1 Incinerate away from the next charge move. I know they're also going to be I think there are 2 Ice Shards away from the next Icy Wind, so we should be able to outpace. Yeah, we actually do outpace. We reach the Fly against them, but I am incredibly debuffed here, and I have no idea what's in the backline. In comes the final Pokemon. It's going to be a Gastrodon. I'm going to try to reach for a Brave Bird here. They go for a charge move. I know there's a chance we survive this, but if I do get knocked out, I should have just banked the Fly. They go for Body Slam. It knocks us out. That is game over at that point. I should have just thrown the move or cleared my debuff, but unfortunately, we lose the game. GG to our opponent. Next matchup is a Shadow Feraligatr. Not the best Pokemon for a Swalot to see, but it's also not necessarily the worst, especially because we know we have a Talonflame in the backline that really does not want to be here. In comes a Sludge into this Pokemon. It will survive, but it does do quite a bit of damage, and they're going to be forced into throwing 2 charge moves here if they want to knock out our Swalot. The best thing about this is they can't have any residual energy if they do end up knocking out our Swalot here, and because we're able to threaten the next charge move, they throw instantly. I can farm this down with my Primeape, and I can then use the energy lead against their backline potentially, depending on what they want to do. But they actually instantly come in with a Shadow Drapion here, a Pokemon that could be a little bit threatening once again for our Talonflame. They already have 2 Pokemon that are pretty good into Talon. I'm hoping whatever the final Pokemon is something Talon actually is able to beat. I'm going to go instantly for yet another Rage Fist and see what our opponent is going to do. Rage Fist is going to likely get a shield here. Drapion has a ton of energy, but at this point, I think there is a good chance that I can go for an Incinerate down and maybe use the energy on Talonflame against that Gator, or maybe even just Incinerate down the Gator later on in this match. I have no idea what the final Pokemon's going to be, but I know I have to shield something up at some point in this game. In comes the Aqua Tail, and now in comes that Shadow Feraligatr. They were energy dry here, so while I could have thrown a Fly to knock them out, I feel like we get a little bit more mileage out of this Pokemon if I end up going for a full Incinerate down and potentially using the energy against their final Pokemon. While I don't have any shields remaining, I do have 100 energy. Our opponent is thinking about what they want to bring in. I'm going to watch for that corner. If it's a Drapion, I'm going to incinerate down. If it's going to be, that was a Ferrothorn. If it's that, I guess we'll go for Charge Moves and incinerate and try our best to knock them out before they can reach a Thunder. In comes our next fly. You can see just how much damage these incinerates are doing. This will either knock out or put them extremely low. Our opponent will end up no shielding, trying to survive the move, but now we can just fast move down the Drapion and take the win in that match. All right, next game is Swalot into a Shadow Galarian Weezing. A very good lead matchup, actually. We have Mudshot, which is super effective. We resist their fast move, but then they end up safe swapping a Talonflame, a Pokemon we don't have a hard response into. They instantly throw a Charge Move here, which is fine by me. I can go for 2 Sludges in just a second, and I would be very surprised if they went for a full-on Brave Bird in this matchup. In comes a Sludge. This will end up doing about half of their health. With the Mudshot damage, it will be able to 2-shot over time. Our opponent will end up shielding the first, actually, and in comes the second Sludge. The best thing about this is they're going to have to instantly throw a charge if they want to knock us out, because I am 2 more Mudshots away from another Sludge, so I'm going to be able to chip them down quite a bit, get a shield advantage, and also potentially set up my own Talonflame or my own Primeape in the backline. Fly is going to end up landing. It does knock us out here. Primeape is going to come in, going to try to ramp up here. I'm actually going to make a risky play where I attempt to CMP a move, but they end up catching on their Shadow Galarian Weezing. While this is a good catch by them, I do know that I'm able to 2-shot them with these Rage Fists. I'm going to go for the next charge move here in just a second. Our opponent does not CMP us, but now this will either get their final shield or knock out this Weezing. Rage Fist does end up getting a shield here. I thought for a second maybe I could reach another charge attack, but no, these Fairy Wind's doing a bit too much damage, and now I am in a bit of an uncomfortable spot because they have a lot of energy, not only on this Weezing, but also on their Talonflame. In comes the Sludge, and it will draw for a shield. I can't shield the second one. I know a Brave Bird or Fly would do a lot more damage, so I will no-shield this attack and try to farm them all the way down. In comes what in the back, hopefully something we have to play into. I have a full-on Brave Bird loaded. Our opponent is thinking for just a second here, and it is a Mandibuzz. They attempt to go for a catch. Honestly, I guess I did have to throw energy here anyway. They had a Fly ready to go, so I'm happy I win CMP. I'm able to knock out the Talon. In comes a Mandibuzz once again, and I think I see a way to win this game. I need to land 2 charge moves to win this one, and I need to make sure that I don't get sniped down before then. I do 1 more Incinerate. I can throw a Fly or a Brave Bird, and at this point, I do have another Fly ready to go, but I'm just 1 Incinerate away from reaching a Brave Bird. I'm also very close to an Ice Punch on our Primeape, so I can bring that back in, force them to throw energy against a low HP Pokemon because they can never snarl me down, at least not in time, and then get to a Brave Bird with our Talonflame. Somehow, out of nowhere, our Brave Bird is going to be able to be reached and knocked out this Mandibuzz to barely win us this game. Talonflame pulling its weight here in the backline. GG to our opponent. Next game here, we're going to see our Swalot in the lead up against a Furret, a very neutral matchup, but honestly, I am a little bit disappointed to see it here. We have our Fighting-type Pokemon in the backline that likely will not see a lot of great matchups once this Furret is out of the way. Sludge will be thrown. It will be able to do quite a bit of damage. I'm not sure it will 2-shot the Furret here. No, not from full HP, which means that while this is not a bad matchup, they likely will win in the Zero Shield just going for Triple Swift, whereas I will not be able to win the CMP. In comes the next Sludge. This will put them deep into the red. Let's see what our opponent's going to do here. They do opt to let it go, and if they didn't have so much energy, I was actually thinking of swapping into our Primeape at some point, but because they are playing it very safe and keeping as much energy as they can here, they're able to potentially use all of this energy against our Swalot now. In comes the next Swift. It will knock us out, but I do have my Shadow Primeape that I can get 1, maybe 2 Karate Chops of energy lead against this with, and that's sometimes all you need to flip a matchup with a Primeape. In the back is going to be a Shadow Pidgeot, a Pokemon I really do not want to see here. We go instantly for the Ice Punch, and now I'm going to have to swap out to our Talonflame. These fast moves from these the Shadow Pidgeots do way too much damage to us, so I do swap out. In comes, I think at this point, that's an Air Cutter, right? They threw that after only 3 gusts, and hopefully they don't boost. Our opponent, they do get that 30% boost chance, which is absolutely abysmal to see. They're going for just fast move pressure at this point. They could throw a charge, but they're choosing just fast move pressure instead. I have 100 energy on our Talonflame, but in comes the Gastrodon. This is going to mudslap us down. If they didn't get that boost, I think we actually have a good chance of winning this game. But because of that boost, I don't reach a second charge move here, and even though I do reach a move on our Primeape, it's not going to be enough to knock them out. Unfortunately, not able to win that game thanks to their boost on Shadow Pidgeot. Next matchup is a Malamar in the lead. You might expect this to be a pretty bad lead matchup for Swalot, and it's not great, but I have a pretty high rank Swalot, and I know in the Zero Shield matchup, the guaranteed way to play this out is just go double Sludge, no shield, 2 foul plays, and as long as you have a good enough Swalot, you should be able to reach the 2 moves before getting knocked out. They are at their foul play right now, which could potentially put us pretty low, but I do believe we still survive the move just barely here. We CMP, our opponent is going to throw the attack. I'm going to just have faith in my stat spread. I think we survive. 1 HP, about as close as it gets, but Swalot able to reach the next charge move, either knock out or draw a shield against this Malamar, or maybe just getting them pretty low. They do let that move through, and it's not quite enough to knock them out, but I can now farm down with either my Talonflame or with my Shadow Primeape and get an energy lead against the backline. In comes a Blastoise here. We're going to try to swap out. Our opponent is going to get a couple of rollouts of energy lead here, which is not great to see, but because my Primeape does resist the fast pressure, as long as I can ramp up against this Pokemon, we should be in a good spot. Hydro Cannon is going to end up getting our first shield here. Primeape is going to ramp up as well with these Rage Fists. I know they might no-shield the first move. They would probably not expect me to go for a close combat even if I did have it, and because they no-shield that attack, now they get yet another charge move off into my Shadow Primeape. I have no idea what's in the backline. I'm a boosted Primeape already, though, and they bring in a Diggersby of all things, a Pokemon that does not really want to take boosted Ice Punches from a Shadow Primeape. In comes our charge move. Do we get a shield? Do they let it go? They do shield the attack up, so now I'm going to swap back into Talon, at least get some sort of use out of it here. And at this point, just hope that they don't get a debuff with a Scorching Sands. In comes the charge move. It does not debuff us, which is exactly what we want to see. I go for the full overfarm here. I have a Brave Bird plus a Fly ready for the backline. This should either knock out the Diggersby or put them extremely low. It does knock out here. I can go for the Fly. At this point, we do have a Rage Fist loaded on our Primeape, but this Blastoise will get a very nice farm down, which could potentially put us in a very bad spot. They get yet another rollout of energy. I instantly go for the Rage Fist. I have to hope this is enough damage to knock them out. I think it is, but it's going to be very close. Rage Fist being thrown, it is enough to knock out Blastoise. Shadow Primeape just barely able to come through in that backline. Next game is yet another Malamar lead. We saw what happened in the game before. Swalot is such a trooper, it can take down these Pokemon, or at least neutralize them for a backline, so I'm going to go for a no-shield once again with this Foul Play, try to spam out the Sludges as quickly as I can, and whittle down the Pokemon that our Primeape really does not want to see. In comes the Sludge from our Swalot. We're at back-to-back here. Our opponent does not make a catch or anything. Let's see if this time they do end up CMPing once again. Sludge being thrown, it is enough to do quite a bit of damage. I don't think the next Sludge will knock them out. We saw in the last matchup their Malamar did survive. Let's see if this one is just as bulky. No, actually, we do end up seeing a shield from them here, so I'll take it. Honestly, a Poison type getting a shield advantage against a Malamar, that's fantastic news for us. They throw a charge move at this point. I'm fine with that. We can go for a no-shield farm all the way down with our Talonflame and invest in a shield advantage Primeape in the backline. Psywaves will add up against us. Foul Play as well, going to be thrown into our Talonflame. It will do a decent amount of damage, but as long as my next Incinerate knocks out, or if I get a bit of energy lead on our Primeape, we can potentially just snipe them down before another charge move will be reached. In the backline, going to be a Shadow Kanto Marowak, a Pokemon that, while I do potentially have Ice Punch for, they might still shield these moves up and get a lot of fast pressure into us, which would not be great if they do start to shield. They do shield the move. I go for a second Ice Punch, though. They do not realize just how quick Ice Punch is reached. Is this enough to knock them out? I have to hope that it is. Ice Punch coming through, it is going to knock out the Pokemon there, and their final Pokemon revealed as a Blastoise. So we just barely do not reach that Rage Fist, but at this point, our Talonflame is outside of range, where I think all of these rollouts will knock us out. I think I will just barely be able to reach a Fly and then a Brave Bird. It's going to be very close, though. I'm just risking at this point that we do survive 2 more rollouts. It's going to be close, but my Talon is pretty good at this point. Skull Bash going to raise their defense stat. A smart play, but at this point, if I can reach a Brave Bird, it's still going to be enough to knock out. Brave Bird is reached in this matchup. This will knock out the Blastoise. A 1 HP survive and win by our Talonflame. Next matchup here, we're going to see Swalot in the lead up against a Corviknight. Oh my goodness, that is potentially one of the worst leads we could see here. Going to swap into my Shadow Primeape, and I'm not going to throw anything here. I'm just going to overfarm as much energy as I can, knowing that this Corviknight, if it wants to do a chip and dip against us, is going to have to throw a lot of energy and let me build up a lot of energy myself. And if I have enough energy, I can make them stay in here. They can't swap anything into a Primeape with basically 3 Rage Fists, so by not throwing energy earlier on in this matchup, which while it might be tempting with a Rage Fist that can boost up your attack stat, I'm making this Primeape's life very miserable. The Corviknight's life, that is. Primeape is doing just fine here. In comes the Unova and Stunfisk as a catch. A nice catch by our opponent, but at this point, I do have Ice Punch. I'm a double boosted Primeape, and this should either knock them out or come very close to it. Our opponent will respect the Ice Punch here, but now, I mean, the switch clocks are so desynced, I can come back and Swalot. This might be a crazy play, I know, but I have the ground-type fast move here, Mud Shot, as well as Ice Beam, and I know Swalot is bulky enough to survive 2 charges from this Unova and Stunfisk. No matter what, this matchup is better than being against that Corviknight, so I want to make sure I can get this U-Fisk out of the way if I can. Go for yet another Ice Beam here. Let's see if this is going to land, or if they opt to shield this move. In comes the Ice Beam. We do see a no-shield here from the U-Fisk, and the Corviknight comes back in. Sand Attack, though, doing almost no damage to us. They're forced to throw a charge move before I can reach an Ice Beam, and now we can farm this down with our Talonflame. We also have a lot of energy and HP on our Shadow Primeape. I think we're in a pretty good spot, but it really depends on the final Pokemon. It's going to be a Shadow Drapion, which, while they do have access to Aqua Tail, I know that Talonflame can survive 1 charge move here in the 1-shield matchup. That means I can no-shield this attack, go for back-to-back flies, and I should be in a very good spot to win this game. In comes the next Aqua Tail. Our opponent is able to throw the move and potentially draw our final shield, but that is fine. I'm still outside of range where sand attacks could knock us out. I have the fly ready to go. I'm 1 or 2 moves away from a Rage Fist on our Primeape as well, which means I think we're in a pretty good spot to win this game. Fly knocks them out here. They can't really no-shield their Corviknight. They kind of have to, though, if they want any chance to win this game, because my Primeape would do a lot more damage. They do shield the attack up here. Incinerate is going to end up landing, and in comes either an Iron Head or a Sky Attack to knock us out. While it will take out our Talonflame, we have a lot of energy and a bit of HP remaining on our Primeape. We're able to outpace them to a Rage Fist and overcome one of the worst possible leads that our Swalot could have seen. Primeape putting in so much work in this game. Down goes the Corviknight. GG there to our opponent. With that, ending off the day with a nice little 3-2 set here. Nothing too crazy, but enough to get us nearly back up to Legend. I love using Swalot. It's a Pokemon that does have a lot of bad matchups, but it's also just one of the bulkiest Pokemon in the game. I mean, you saw what it could do against Malamar, right? Even in bad matchups like that, it does have a little bit of play. It just knocked out a Ufisk in that last game. So Swalot has a lot of play. It's a very fun Pokemon, and I would recommend using this team if you want to give it a try. All right, well, thank you so much for watching today's video. If you enjoyed the battles and you want to see more content like this on the channel, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe. It helps out the channel a ton, and I would really appreciate it. Thank you again for watching. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.